1, 2, 3. Listen.
Hey everybody, this is AskDrGanz, the podcast. Stress, everybody's got it, everybody feels it, but what do you do with it? How do you get it handled so you can be your best, do your best, and most importantly, feel your best in all areas of your life? Well, that's what AskDrGanz, the podcast, is all about. I'm your host, Bryn Griffiths, alongside registered psychologist Dr. Ganz Ferentz. How you doing today?
I am great.
Okay, so we've survived the holidays.
Absolutely.
And all the way through that holiday season, it's a bringing together of families, and it's great to see the bonding of everybody in the families. But now the holidays are over. Mm-hmm. So how do we keep that close contact, those ties that bind, now that we're into the month of January?
Well, this is absolutely true. You know, like it's during the holidays, it's great. There's family stuff in the air. The energy is positive for a lot of people. But yeah, we can keep that going all year long, right? It doesn't matter if it's June or September or whenever it is. We can always take the time to bond with the people we care about, whether it's like actual blood family or spiritual family, right? People that we want to be around, friends and people that we like to share some, have some things in common with. So, the idea of just even making a conscious and deliberate effort to connect with people is very important. We are herd animals, humans. We do better when we have connections, when we have people who look after us and we look after them. We do better when we know that we are a part of a group. So taking the time to be mindful of that and doing things, putting things strategically and deliberately in place to make sure this bonding stuff happens all year long is really a smart move. Very smart move, especially for families.
Well, all the way through the holiday season, we consciously work really hard at it because we've read a million articles. We've seen it on TV. We've heard it on the radio. We've heard it on podcasts. So it's a topic that is right there, and we work really hard at liking Aunt so-and-so, even though we maybe don't, or Uncle Harry, and we're not a big fan of Uncle Harry, but we make it work somehow. But I always worry about that letdown period, which we're in right now.
Yeah. Well, and there is a natural letdown period after you go through any type of things that we ramp up for, whether it's a wedding or a birthday or the holidays or whatever. It's like, and it's not that we're depressed or that we feel let down by whatever we've just been through, whatever event it is, but it's actually just the physiological effect of having our physiology ramped up, more adrenaline, more of the other kind of like up hormones. And after a while, it's like, okay, there's nothing that's on the table, nothing that's kind of pressing. And so that hormone level actually drops. And so we do feel a little bit of a lull. But yeah, it is important to say, okay, well, I was able to do this at this time of year. Do I want to keep doing it throughout the year, right? And sometimes that makes sense to do that, right? I mean, we want to connect with the people we care about, but other times it's also wise to say, you know what? No, Aunt so-and-so or Uncle Harry, maybe he's a once-a-year uncle, right? Because if I see him more than that, we're gonna fight. We're not gonna get along as well, or I might get either frustrated or bored or whatever the emotions might be. So it's quality is better than quantity sometimes when it comes to certain relationships. We've
also talked a lot about the fact that the middle of January is a tough time for a lot of people. And that's because you've been on this high at Christmas and, through the holiday season, and you work really hard at making it all connect. And then all of a sudden everybody goes away, and then all of a sudden the bills start to come in. Then maybe there's some bad weather or whatever. And it's so tough for some people to get themselves from not getting sucked into that cyclone.
Yeah, it's true. And actually there's a concept, and it's gaining a little bit of popularity now. Blue Monday.
Yes.
They talk about that I think it's the third Monday in January. And they say that's the saddest time of the year. Well, it's not really. I mean, any day could be sad, but a lot of people, can have a hard time for that same reason you were talking about, Bryn, that letdown after the holidays. But then, the bills start showing up, and we don't have the same sort of social interactions we had during the Christmas and New Year's seasons, and so it can feel kind of lonely. So, I would say prepare for that. You know what I mean? Understand that can be coming, but do things to mitigate that. So plan some activities for yourself. Maybe plan some connections with friends or family. Do some things that are going to be uplifting and fun. Physical exercise is amazing to help you manage stress, right? So if you can, get together for a game of soccer or ultimate frisbee or whatever with a bunch of people getting outside is a huge thing, right? Anything that we do in nature, even like where we are in the world, it's like January is very cold and so it's not always easy to get outside. But even if you're in a place with big windows where you can see outside, that's awesome. Or if you're into winter sports, do that. Other parts of the world it's warm, so you can get outside when you need to. Anything you do to connect with nature is going to be very healing and helpful when we are going through stress at this time of year or any time of year. But also if we can do that with family and friends, anybody you want to be connected with, if you can do outside nature type of things with them, that helps to bring their whole energy down. And so it's much easier to make bonds and create good relationships when we're doing things out in nature.
And Uncle Harry, it does not have to be invited.
That's right.
This is Ask Dr. Gans, the podcast. Hang on, you were going to say something?
I was going to say Uncle Harry can be the Sherpa. So he can bring the tent. Yes, exactly.
There could be a role for Uncle Harry. That's right. Bad of me. Anyway, this is Ask Dr. Gans, the podcast. We talk about stress on every podcast. And you can also check us out on Facebook. It's real simple. I don't think it could be any easier than this. Just check out Ask Dr. Gans. So we're talking about bonding and getting over the holiday blues and that kind of thing. And you talked about getting outside for people. When it is, and we're in a cold climate in Canada, when it is brutally cold, there's something, and I don't know if this is kind of weird, but one of the happiest moments I can ever remember was at minus 42. And I was with friends that I worked with, and we couldn't wait to get outside, which makes no sense at all. But we were all together as a unit.
Yes.
And for some reason, well, look at the memory. That's a long time ago, but I still remember it.
Well, so it's a funny thing. Sometimes the most miserable, harshest things we can think of that we do, and if we do them together, that's what bonds us, right? It's like why family camping trips are always memorable, right? And especially the worse they are, the more memorable they are.
Absolutely.
Remember when the tent broke and we were drenched and the bugs ate us, and then we're all so and so puked in the car on the drive back, and that was awesome, right?
That was Uncle Harry. You're right. Why is that?
Well, because so there's this concept called perturbation, right? And the idea is that there's a certain level of organization that any system, whether it's a chemical system or in this case a family system or an interpersonal system, is at rest at. So it's a normal, healthy, kind of stable spot. Well, you put pressure on that system, and the system kind of goes into chaos. It goes into flux. And if the conditions are right, it actually reestablishes another level of organization, but at a higher level. So it actually builds intimacy, builds relationships, builds bonding, but we have to go through that difficult time to get there. This is why teams are bonded, right? This is why, especially if they go through a hard time, or you go through a disaster together, or people who are first responders, they do this all the time, and so they really feel that sense of camaraderie with the people that are in their troop, right? So we have that with our families when we do things like go outside at minus 41, right, or whatever it is. So we can engineer that to some extent. We can't always engineer how exactly it's going to go, but we can say, hey, let's do this challenging thing together, and that helps to create that sense of team. It helps create that sense of we're connected and we're all pulling for each other.
The Griffiths family. Mm-hmm. There's about 23 cousins, wow. 23, 24 cousins. There are 4 of us that are the leaders of the pack. Uh-huh. Does that always happen? Where those are the people that get everybody together, and they're the ones that basically lead everyone outside at minus 41.
It depends on personality. I've said this lots to you. Like, you're just an upbeat guy. You got the Energizer bunny,
almost
right?
to a flaw.
So every group needs a leader, and they don't always have to be elected. They can just be sort of the spiritual or de facto leader, right? And somebody's got the energy, somebody's got the bright idea of going outside at 41, right, minus 41. Just somebody that's going to say, hey, let's try this. This seems like fun. And who wants to do it with me, right? Come on, let's go, right? And having those people in the group does really help to help the group to move forward. And when that person is not around, you really feel that lack of cohesion. And sometimes the group actually falls apart when that person either moves away or they're not there or they're sick or whatever, right? So if you are that person, then definitely be that person. Know that you have an important role. If you're not that person, definitely support that person because they are the stick that stirs the drink, basically.
This is Ask Dr. Ganz, the podcast. We're talking about stress. You can check us out online at AskDrGanz.com. Okay, so we went through the holiday season, and one of the reasons why maybe Uncle Harry or Aunt whatever her name is they're kind of on their own is because discussions at the table.
Well, yeah.
Politics is always a horrible one at Christmas time for me. But how do you plan discussions where everybody can take part and it can be a positive experience?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at it. Sometimes this stuff just comes up organically and we start talking about it. But I think if you know that there are varying opinions and that they tend to be very contentious, right, where people get upset, you can set some rules around that. There's nothing wrong with being conscious and deliberate about how we set up our interactions with family or with friends, right? If you find that politics are troublesome, then okay, there's a no politics zone, right? We're not going to talk about that, and I'm going to be the referee, right? Either you be the referee or you appoint somebody to the referee, and it's that person's job to say, you know what? No, we're not going to discuss that. We're going to talk about something else, and you may even have some discussion topics that you have for yourself, and you can even pass them on. It's kind of like having a little bit of an engineered dinner party. Hey, we're going to be talking about this, so bone up on it, right? And we're, each person's going to give their book report, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But then at least people know that these are the things that we're going to be talking about, and these are the things that are a bit off limits because they tend to cause more harm than good.
And you can always sense when something has kind of gone awry, can you not, in those discussions?
Yeah, you can feel it. And I'm always like I'm of two minds with some of these things, right? Because on one hand, we want to have an easy, smooth, enjoyable time.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think it is also important to have discussions and talk to people who don't hold your opinion. I really feel strongly about that the world generally, we need to be able to listen to each other a lot better and not take things so personally, right? There's a reason people feel the way they feel. It may not be a reason you agree with. It may not even be a good reason, right? But it's a reason. And I think when we can take the time to really listen and try to understand where the other person's coming from, even on stuff like politics or whatever, religion or whatever it might be, if we really understand that and try to get into the other person's headspace or their lives, it breeds understanding. It breeds a sense of we are the same, even though we have differences of opinions. And that helps us all to do far better in the world. Right? Like right now, I'm really frustrated by what I see, particularly in social media or regular media. People are becoming more and more so polarized, right? And no one's listening. They tag on to one little thing and they blow up, and then they have this Twitter war or whatever happens there. And it's like, listen, just slow down, take your time. It's okay to have a different opinion. Let's listen to each other and let's try to just see the commonalities versus the differences and see where we can build from there.
One of the things I've learned is that I like to see the differences of opinion on social media, but I've come to the conclusion, and I could be completely wrong here, that ending any conversation with, and you're an idiot, is a negative way of going with things. And it just seems like people just don't want to believe that somebody else could have an opinion.
Well, this is it, and the thing is, you can have an opinion, and you can also be wrong. It's okay.
You can change that opinion.
Absolutely, right? My psychologist says that if you don't have, well, he didn't call it regrets, but if you don't have a sense of, oh man, I was kind of an idiot back then, or I didn't really see it that way, or whatever. If you don't have that experience where you're kind of like not really ashamed, but feel bad about where you were before in the past, that means you haven't grown. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like we're supposed to grow as people. We're supposed to be able to learn something. I know the opinions I held even a year ago are very different than the opinions I hold now, because I've actually talked to a few people. I've tried to understand why they feel the way they do. What was it in their experiences, whether it's their childhood background or how they feel now. What are some of the things that have motivated them to act the way they act? Okay, well, now I can understand, right? Because no matter how crazy something seems, or an opinion or a stance seems, there's always some sort of psychological backstory that makes sense. And if you understand that backstory, a lot of other stuff makes sense, So
this makes a lot of sense with Uncle Harry again. So I'm starting to get that. This is Ask Dr. Ganz, the podcast. We're talking about stress. You can also check us out on Twitter. The handle's really simple. It's at AskDrGanz. Okay, before we wrap things up here, when you get together with family and friends and you have that bonding experience, is it not important to turn your phone off?
So we were just talking about social media and stuff like that. Yeah. Listen, the idea of technology connecting us more broadly across the globe, absolutely it does. It connects us more broadly, but it also robs us of depth if we're not careful. So we really need to be mindful of we use the technology versus being used by the technology, right? Many of the things that are put together for our technology, whether it's the phone or the tablet or whatever it is, right? There are people behind this stuff that are making money. It's benefiting them, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. But we have to understand that we as people, we have to be in control of what it is we do with our time, what it is we do with our interactions. And a lot of times, particularly the phone, gets in the way. We are generally on call to every beep and buzz that happens, and we're always trying to figure out what's going on in social media or what's going on in the news. It's not necessary, right? And so when we are trying to connect with somebody, whether it's an intimate partner or a family or a group of people that we care about, it's great to call a no-tech timeout, right? Let's just say everybody put away their phone or put everything on Do Not Disturb, or let's have some period of time where no one is checking their stuff. The world will still be there when you go back and check on it. Mm-hmm. But let's take some time to actually look at or practice connecting with people at a human level. And, as much as this is a great thing for relationships and for, those times when we are with our family and friends, it's actually, it's becoming a bit of a life skill, because more and more I've been hearing people in HR and people in the business community complaining about the fact that many of the younger people now don't have the social skills to be able to do the jobs they need them to do, because they don't know how to look people in the eye and carry on a good conversation or whatever. They're lost in their phones. So it's actually caused some problems for employers. And so even doing this in the family, it's good for bonding, but especially for the younger people, it's great practice to be able to have those skills that we need to be functional and successful in the workforce.
Little tip from me, and I go back to management days when I had to give one of the employees shit for something, mm-hmm. And the problem is that his focus was poor. Mm-hmm. While I'm telling him this, you know where I'm going with this. He's on his phone.
Oh, no.
Texting.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So we did solve that problem eventually, but man, it took a lot of work. Nobody said any of this information we're passing out is going to come easy. You got to work at it.
This is it. It's hard stuff for a lot of people, right? And here's the thing: it seems like common sense. It really does, and this is not rocket science.
No.
And at the same time, most people don't do it because it seems so simple, right? And you and I were talking off air about the fact that I'm putting this program together, launching pretty soon here, this membership program that really kind of builds this in so that you have a structure to help you actually apply all these very easy, very simple techniques, so you actually get the mileage and the traction that you want. So you just don't hear it. It's just, oh yeah, that makes sense, but I don't have to do it, right? It's fine. Or worse yet, hey, that really worked. I guess I don't need to do it anymore. Right?
Yeah, exactly. People like to take the easy way out.
Yep, absolutely.
Big event coming up in Whistler too, right?
Yeah. In April 20th, I'm doing a talk one day with Dr. Ken Keys, and Whistler's a great location. And no matter where you are in the world, Whistler's a destination, right? So it's like, come and check us out. It's going to be beautiful. If you
I've never been there.
I've never been there either.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
I've seen it, and it looks like the Olympics were there. The Winter Olympics were there a few years ago, and just a beautiful setting. And I can't wait to get there. And no matter what you like to do, there's stuff to do there. But Dr. Ken Key is going to be talking about some stuff, and
he's going to join us in a few weeks.
Yes, he is. He's going to be on our podcast, and he helps you get your life so you can live on purpose, so you can live from your center. And then I'm going to talk about how to make sure that your state is in the right way. So once you figure out how you can live on purpose, to make sure you actually get to execute that in an effective way.
Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for your time and feedback. We love feedback from everybody.
Love it. Love feedback. Give us your feedback. But also, if you like something you've heard or something on the website, definitely share it with somebody that you care about, because we want to make sure that everybody gets the good information they need to be healthier, happier, and more productive in their own lives.
And the mission.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
That's right.
Okay. Don't forget to check out all the free resources either. Just go to our website, which is AskDrGanz.com. That's AskDrGanz.com. And, hey, we'll check in with you next time.
1, 2, 3, listen.